Aiden sat alone at the far end, tray untouched, eyes fixed on the sandwich his mother had packed that morning with so much love. Then he heard the snickering. 3 boys approached, Blake Whitmore leading the pack, smug and sharp in his pressed blazer. In his hand, he held a banana, already peeled halfway. Aiden's chest tightened. He knew what was coming. Blake stopped beside Aiden's table and held out the banana like a prize. "Hey, Aiden," he said, voice syrupy and cruel. "Don't you monkeys like bananas? Huh? Take it." Laughter burst from the boys behind him. Aiden stayed silent, fists clenched beneath the table. "Oh, come on," Blake added, leaning closer. "Don't you love it? Isn't this, like, your thing?" And then, he slammed the banana down on Aiden's tray, crushing it into a sticky, mocking mess. One of the others popped open a milk carton and, without warning, poured it over Aiden's head, soaking his hair, his clothes, his books. "There," the second boy said. "A little milk for the monkey." The laughter was louder now, echoing through the cafeteria like a cruel song. Aiden's cheeks burned. He looked around, hoping someone, anyone, would speak up. Then the door opened. Mr. Dalton, one of the senior teachers, stepped into the cafeteria. His eyes swept over the scene. For one brief, flickering second, Aiden felt hope. He sat up straighter, milk dripping down his face, eyes pleading silently, "Please. Please see me." But Mr. Dalton just blinked, adjusted his tie, and walked right past. No questions. No discipline. No justice. He simply said, "Lunch is almost over," and kept walking to the staff lounge. The laughter returned, louder than before. Aiden felt like something inside him shattered. Blake leaned in, his voice now a low, venomous whisper. "You see that? You don't matter here. You never did." Aiden heart broke. He didn't belong here. Aiden lived in the heart of a crumbling city, where broken streetlights flickered like dying stars and the scent of survival clung to every cracked sidewalk. There was a neighborhood known simply as the Jungle. It wasn't marked on maps with any real name, just forgotten buildings, graffiti-stained walls, and narrow alleys that echoed with dreams too often deferred. On the far end of Baystone Avenue, tucked between a boarded-up grocery store and a rusting playground, lived the Carter family. Life had never been kind to them, but somehow, they made do. Jerome Carter, the father, worked long shifts as a janitor at a local clinic. Each day, he scrubbed away dirt and sickness that wasn't his own, returning home with aching knees and the silent pride of a man who never quit. His wife, Tonya, worked the laundromat down the road. It wasn't much, but it kept the lights on and food, however little, on the table. Their son, Aiden, was different. From a young age, there was a light in his eyes that neither poverty nor struggle could dim. He read books like they were treasure maps, solving math problems faster than his teachers could assign them. While other kids ran the streets, Aiden stayed up late under the soft glow of a second-hand lamp, flipping through old textbooks Tonya picked up from donation boxes. Baystone Community School was overcrowded and underfunded, but to Aiden, it was a world of possibility. His teachers noticed his brilliance. They watched the way he spoke, the way he saw the world, the way he turned challenge into motivation. It was no surprise when, one day, a letter arrived sealed with the gold crest of St. Riverton College, the most elite school in the state. A scholarship had opened, and Aiden had been chosen. The entire neighborhood buzzed with pride. No one from the Jungle had ever set foot in St. Riverton, let alone been offered a seat. Jerome held the letter in trembling hands, Tonya cried, and Aiden beamed. He had always dreamed of more than the peeling walls of their apartment, more than sirens and sleepless nights. He packed his bag the night before his first day, full of hope, nerves, and the unshakable belief that this opportunity could change everything. He didn't yet know what waited for him behind the polished gates of St. Riverton. But he would soon. St. Riverton College was nothing like Baystone. The gates were tall and black, lined with gold trim. The lawns were trimmed like green velvet, and the buildings stood like proud monuments to wealth. The students wore uniforms that looked tailored, shoes that never touched dirt, and faces that had never known hunger. When Aiden stepped through the gates, it felt like he had crossed into another world, one where people didn't survive, they simply lived. At first, he tried to smile. He stood tall in his oversized blazer, a hammer-down from a cousin that barely matched the school's code. His shoes were scuffed, and his backpack had a broken zipper, but he carried his books like they were weapons of change. The silence came first. Cold stares. Whispers behind hands. Laughter that stopped when he turned around. Then came the words. Where'd they dig this one up from? Must have won a charity case. Hey, monkey, what's it like swinging to school every day? Aiden tried to ignore it, focusing on his lessons, but the words clung to him like invisible bruises. In the cafeteria, no one sat with him. He ate alone, his tray barely touched as giggles echoed from across the room. One day, someone poured milk over his food while he turned to get a napkin. Another day, they filled his locker with banana peels. He didn't tell his parents right away. He didn't want to worry them. Every night, he came home and said school was fine. But Tonya noticed the dimming in his eyes, the long silences, the nights he sat by the window staring at nothing. Jerome noticed the way he flinched when someone knocked at the door. The worst happened one afternoon after gym class. Aiden had gone to the changing room alone. When he opened his locker, his clothes were gone, replaced with a ripped janitor's uniform and a note that read, "Go clean something, you'll never be one of us." He stood there for a long time, shirtless, humiliated. He didn't cry, not then. He walked home in his gym clothes, trembling with shame. That night, he broke. He sat at the kitchen table, head down, and whispered, "I want to go back to Baystone." Jerome looked up from his dinner. "Why, son? What happened?" Tonya sat beside him, gently cupping his chin, lifting his face. His eyes were red, filled with the weight of things a child should never carry. "I don't belong there, Mama," he said. "They hate me. They laugh at me, call me names. They poured milk on me. They locked me outside the classroom. They took my clothes. I'm tired. I just want to go back where I'm not hated." Silence filled the room like smoke. Tonya pulled him into her arms. Jerome turned his face, trying to hide the tears sliding down his cheek. "You are not the problem, Aiden," Jerome said finally. "They are. But I'm tired of being strong, Dad," Aiden said. "I don't want to fight every day just to learn." The next day, Aiden returned the scholarship paperwork with a note. "Thank you, but I will no longer be attending St. Riverton." He walked back into Baystone Community School like a wounded hero. His classmates welcomed him with hugs, with jokes, with stories he'd missed. His teachers gave him knowing smiles. And though his parents mourned the lost opportunity, they stood by their son's decision. He had chosen peace over prestige, safety over status. But deep inside, the fire hadn't gone out. Something stronger had been born in him, something not even racism, cruelty, or isolation could kill. Aiden Carter would rise. Weeks passed, and the scars on Aiden's heart began to heal, though not fully. At Baystone, he was in the midst people who saw him, not for his skin, not for his shoes or the way he spoke, but for his mind, his kindness, his grit. He was back to being himself again, the boy who solved problems before teachers finished writing them, who stayed after class to help others catch up, who read with a hunger that only deepened with pain. But behind his smile was a quiet shadow, memories that still haunted him at night. He never forgot the sting of laughter, the chill of milk running down his shirt, the cruel note in his locker. Then came the news that shook every hallway at Baystone. A national academic challenge was opening its doors to all schools, even the underfunded ones. It had never happened before. This was the kind of competition that St. Riverton students dominated every year. But now, for once, schools like Baystone could send a representative. The choice was obvious. Aiden. His principal called him into the office, eyes glowing with pride. "We want you to represent us. No pressure, but we believe in you." Aiden nodded, heart pounding. He knew this was more than a competition. It was a chance to prove something, not just to the world, but to himself. He prepared for the competition with a determination to win, and he left no stone unturned. On the day of the competition, the first few rounds passed quickly. Aiden moved through them like lightning. Science, math, literature, he answered with confidence, his mind sharp and focused. His name began appearing on leaderboards next to students from elite schools. By the time he reached the national semifinals, only 3 competitors remained. And that's when he saw him. Standing across the room in a navy blue St. Riverton blazer, smug as ever, was Blake Whitmore, his former bully. The boy who once threw his books in the trash. The boy who poured milk on his tray. The boy who mocked his skin, his voice, his very existence. Aiden froze. His chest tightened. The air around him grew heavy. For a moment, it felt like he was back at St. Riverton, alone in a locker room with no clothes and no voice. Blake smirked when their eyes met. Well, Jungle Boy made it this far. Aiden turned away, his palms sweating. His heart raced. Doubt crept in like a whisper. What if you lose? What if they laugh again? He found a quiet corner and sat down, knees shaking. But then he remembered his mother's arms, warm and safe. He remembered his father's voice, steady and strong. You are not the problem. They are. He remembered Baystone. His classmates. His teachers. The kids who now looked up to him. He was not that scared boy anymore. He stood up, taller than before. When the final round began, tension filled the auditorium. The last three competitors, Aiden from Baystone, Blake from St. Riverton, and a girl named Olivia from a private school in Vermont. All three were brilliant. The questions came fast. History, geography, logic puzzles, calculus. One by one, other contestants were eliminated. By the final round, only Aiden and Blake remained. The crowd was silent. The final question appeared. A long, complex riddle involving physics and probability. Both boys stared at the screen. Blake scribbled furiously. Aiden closed his eyes. He breathed. Then he picked up his pen. When the timer buzzed, their answers were submitted. The judges reviewed. Then they revealed they both got the answer right and gave them another tough question. After they've submitted, waiting for the result. Seconds passed like hours. There was a smug on Blake's face saying, "You can never win against me." The lights were blinding. The applause thundered. Cameras flashed, and the announcer's voice echoed through the auditorium. And the winner of this year's National Academic Challenge, Aiden Carter from Baystone Community School. Aiden stood center stage, holding the trophy like it was made of fire and gold. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from something deeper. A release. A reckoning. He looked out into the crowd. He saw his mother, Tonya, standing in the aisle, both hands over her mouth, tears streaking her cheeks. Jerome beside her, fists in the air, chest puffed with pride. Behind them were students from Baystone, some holding hand-painted signs, screaming his name. He saw Blake, sitting stiffly, eyes down, surrounded by silence. A stage official stepped forward and handed Aiden the microphone. The applause began to fade. Everyone leaned in. Aiden took a deep breath. His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of every insult, every bruise, every night he had cried himself to sleep. When I first walked into St. Riverton College, I thought I had made it. I thought being given a scholarship meant I finally had a chance to rise. But what I walked into wasn't opportunity. It was a war zone I wasn't prepared for. I was bullied, mocked, humiliated, for the color of my skin, for the clothes I wore, for the place I came from. The room was silent now. They told me I didn't belong, that I'd never be one of them, that my dreams were too big for someone like me. And for a while, I believed them. I went home every day wondering if I was the problem. He looked down, then back up, eyes steady. But I wasn't. I'm not. I may be black. I may come from the part of town people drive through with their windows up. I may not wear designer shoes or speak with polish. But none of that means I don't belong. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. I came here with nothing but my mind, my heart, and a fire they couldn't put out. I didn't win today just for myself. I won for every kid sitting in a classroom with cracked windows and no heat. I won for every student who's been told they are not enough. I won for the ones who had to choose dignity over dreams. He paused, then finished softly, but firmly. Don't look at me and see my skin. See my strength. Don't judge me by where I'm from. Judge me by what I can do. It doesn't matter the school I go to or the neighborhood I live in. What matters is what I carry inside. My name is Aiden Carter, and I belong anywhere I choose to be. The crowd exploded. People stood, cheered, cried. Tonya sobbed openly, gripping Jerome's arm. Students from all over rushed the stage. Aiden's name echoed through the auditorium like a song of justice. In that moment, he wasn't just a boy from downtown. He was a symbol, a fire, A revolution in sneakers and second-hand clothes. He was Aiden Carter, and the world would remember his name. Years passed since that unforgettable day on the stage. Aiden Carter's victory was just the beginning. With the support of his family and community, he pursued his education relentlessly, winning scholarships, attending a top university, and earning degrees in education and social justice. His story inspired not just his hometown but the entire nation. But Aiden didn't stop at personal success. He became a fierce advocate for equality in education, working tirelessly to break down barriers that kept so many children like him from accessing the opportunities they deserved. He founded the Carter Scholars Network, a program that partnered with schools across the country, both elite and underfunded, to ensure that students of all races and backgrounds could learn side by side, without prejudice or discrimination. Under his leadership, several prestigious schools, including former rivals like St. Riverton College, adopted policies of inclusion and equal opportunity. Scholarships multiplied, mentorship programs flourished, and the walls that once divided communities began to crumble. Aiden's vision was clear: education should be a bridge, not a barrier. Today, his name is known throughout the academic world, not just for his brilliance, but for his heart. Aiden Carter transformed the system that once tried to break him, proving that true success isn't measured by trophies or titles, but by the lives you change. And every time a child from a forgotten neighborhood walks through the doors of a school that welcomes them as equals, Aiden's legacy lives on. Aiden's story shows that no one should ever be judged by where they come from or the color of their skin. Every child deserves respect, kindness, and a fair chance to succeed. Sometimes, the people we expect to protect us stay silent, but that doesn't mean we are alone. What matters most is holding on to who you are, and never letting someone else's cruelty define your future. If you enjoy this story, please like, comment and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, who knows what story we will uncover next.